Hi, this is Keith Costelloe reading from Drawn into Danger, a chapter called Tapaza. Tapaza is beautiful. The village has a small harbour with houses and shops spreading away from the sea and clustered along the bay. More impressive are the ruins of the ancient port of Tapaza at the edge of the town. The Phoenicians created it, a small port for trade. Then the Romans, recognizing its strategic value, occupied it. The seaport of Tapaza became one of the most major harbours on the Mediterranean coast. A perfect day. A clear blue sky, an aquamarine sea, hot granite rocks, tall fragrant flowers, and towering shade-giving trees. We walked down a column-lined street to the sea where the Mediterranean waves lapped peacefully onto the rocks. It's always fascinating to explore, especially the partially restored amphitheatre. Tall trees provide shade and wildflowers and gorse grow on the slopes above the combined rocks and ancient walls. The air that day was fresh, and a soft breeze gently touched and cooled us. Algerian families were having a Friday picnic among the ruins. We refused their kind invites to sit down and eat with them, but once or twice we took the offered homemade baklava, enjoying the sweetness of honey, the flaky pastry, and the pistachio nut crumbled into the filling. Mumtaz, shukran. Excellent, thank you. We had lunch at our favorite place, a little wooden shack with a slatted palm leaf roof situated right at the entrance to the Roman ruins. It was immensely pleasurable to sit outside one of the most magnificent Roman sites in North Africa and listen to the sounds of life, a motorbike passing by, birds calling, scolding, and chatter in Arabic, as the cook murmured with the only other customer, an Algerian in a brown burnous with a yellow scarf wrapped around his head. We feasted on steak and fries and finished off with crepe and jam. For us, a far cry from the world of Busada, where everything was aggressive and hard-edged. Here, the warmth and light calmed and soothed the soul. We sat and reveled in the simple pleasures of life in a state of peacefulness. There was no need to speak. We just relaxed and enjoyed the afternoon light, the quiet and utter contentment of being together in a stunningly beautiful setting. As we were leaving, a youngish man wearing a heavy burnous and a hood over his head dashed out of a side street, shouting and gesticulating. Hooded man saw us and swore in French, "Putain de merde." Was it directed at us, or just a general comment on the situation he was in? He ran past the wooden shack. Two gendarmes with guns drawn rushed past us and grabbed him, knocking him to the ground, and then dragged him along the road and out of sight. It had happened so quickly, we hadn't had time to react or even think. Then suddenly the adrenaline kicked in and Liz collapsed. A family rushed over to us, apologizing and crying over Liz. They gave us some water and kept on repeating, "Il est fou, ce type, il est fou." He's mad, that guy, he's mad. I seen a gendarme jumped out of a passing patrol car and started asking questions and then apologizing. He switched to English, realizing we weren't French, impressing me by his command of the language. "He is crazy, man, not important, not worry, nothing is wrong." We were shaken up, but just wanted to leave. It was getting too emotional and intense. So first thanking the small group of well-wishers that had gathered, I told the officer, "Captain, I understand, it is okay. We're not making a complaint. We're going to see our friends in Hadjut. Thank you for helping." Luckily, a Peugeot taxi passed by. He stopped it and we bundled in with the captain wishing us a safe journey and repeating over and over, nothing was wrong. Algeria, peaceful country. The taxi driver didn't speak during the short ride to the town of Hadjut, but our sense of safety had been shattered. It had been a minor, almost inconsequential incident. Still, we weren't sure if it was just an isolated event or symptomatic of an extensive unrest. As we drove through the town, I noticed this recently built bâtiment, apartment buildings, littered with rubbish and with gangs of young men standing around outside. They laughed as some of the younger boys tossed rocks into the road and then ran to hide. It wasn't a big deal. But I remembered Cameron had talked about the high unemployment rate in the north. It wasn't as noticeable in the south, but here I felt an air of menace, a pot waiting to boil over. He told us about petty crimes, theft, and menacing behavior, like following single female teachers, throwing stones at them, making lewd comments. Violence hadn't broken out, but the tension and the desire for something better lingered in the streets. However, Sue reminded us of how concerned and helpful the people had been, as they didn't want us to think badly of Algeria. It could have happened anywhere, so we had to put it into perspective. In our experience, we'd always been treated with friendliness and hospitality. For us, a visit to Hadjut was a way to renew ourselves and to escape Busada's tension, stress, and intrigue. Josephine and Cameron's apartment had luxuries we could only dream of in Busada. a fridge, running water, a kitchen, table with 4 chairs. They'd made a few good friends. Joseph had a private 17-year-old student, and he'd introduce them to his family. On Fridays after prayers, they would often be invited to have an evening meal. Ramsey, Josephine's student, was charming, but he could be seen as over the top in the UK. But in Algeria, hosts treated their guests and friends. Why you not go ride tomorrow? Ramsey suggested. I'm working, but a friend Ramley work at stable. He have horses. Josephine tutted and looked at Ramley. He stopped for a second. Sorry, he has horses. You could ride on beach like cowboys. Yes, but what if there were another madman, I asked. Ramsey laughed. Oh, come on. One thing to stop you enjoy life. It's madman. You don't have to in England. Yes, I know. What do you think, Sue, Liz? I can't, I'm afraid. I have someone to meet in Algiers, Liz informed us. I nodded and smiled at her. Sue laughed. Let's go. I love to go riding. Thank you, Ramsey. You too? Sue looked at Cameron and Joseph and they both nodded. Okay, let's do it. I need a change. We arranged to meet at the flat about 8 in the morning. I was pleased because it would take us away from all this undercover work, and you can't live your life afraid of every little thing. We had the briefing in the evening, and Musa insisted I come an hour earlier so we could talk about what to expect. When I arrived, he took me to his room, explaining he'd told Liz to go out shopping with Sue, so we had the place to ourselves for an hour. As we entered, Musa turned around to face me. Standing very close, he looked at me and said quite softly, I've missed you, my friend. I've missed you so much. I want to be alone with you, to sit and chat quietly about life. I looked into his tensely soft and enticing eyes. Yes, I whispered back. That would be nice. He opened the doors to the balcony and brought out a few bottles of cold tango. I like lager, but I developed a taste for it. It wasn't easy to get, but the hotel had stocked it, so why not enjoy life a little? We were alone, delighting in the breeze, and we relaxed, chatting about our holidays and watching the setting sun create a pool of reflection over the bay. Then Musa mentioned the briefing. Captain Tuati will talk about plot to replace Chadli. Some people do not support new president. In French papers, you see anti-Algerian stories on oil and gas contracts. People want French. People think French want more easy president. Yes, I've heard that. But you're not sure? This group resist, meet Pierre Noir at Marseille. They make contact with Berber groups here in Algeria and France. Needing time to process this, I reached for another bottle of tango, relishing the coolness of the lager slipping down my throat. I realized this might be more dangerous and far-reaching than I'd thought. I hadn't been following the news about Algeria. Over the holiday, we'd been camping and read very little in the papers about it. I carefully poured some more beer, put the bottle down on the glass top table and looked up at Musa, who was half smiling and squinting at the harbour below us. From what I know, I said, there's a lot of ill feeling between the Kabyle and the Pieds Noirs. The Pieds Noirs took land from the Kabyle and they haven't been forgiven. Jean-Jacques and Francois met with Pieds Noirs in Marseille. Also Berbers in the Kabyle, in Algeria and France. There is much resentment and anti-government feeling. Strange bedfellows, you can say. Yes, the enemy is my friend. Exactly, I remember the saying. In 1980, there were protests in Tizi Ouzou, and there was still a lot of anger against the government. I remembered one day in class, I noticed some writing on the board like strands of barbed wire. I knew the Berber language was not allowed, so I hastily rubbed it out. I have a couple of students in my class, and if you ask me, I would probably support them. Yes, but civil war will destroy us. Do you want it? We fight against French in 1950s to 1962. Maybe 900,000 people killed for fighting for independence. You want more killing? Yes, I reflected, it had been a ferocious war. Musa had been born during the last few years of the war. He was right, of course. I needed time to think about what I was really doing here. I understand what you're saying. Random killings won't kill anyone. Education, peace. We must build this country. Yes, you're right. As long as it's fair and equal for all. I paused, twirling the beer in my glass and watching the bubbles rise to the surface and pop. What's my role in this? I wasn't feeling at all comfortable. My ignorance and naivety had allowed me to be drawn into the lion's den. Nothing dangerous, like those spy films, with Dropbox so you can pass information. I read this in Tinker Tailor or something. You always surprise me. You read the Le Carré book, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy? I didn't know you read anything outside of medical books. I want to read about spies. A friend recommended, so I read book during holidays. It is like us, isn't it? Yes, but remember all the intrigue. You can't trust anyone. Betrayal. So who do you trust here? Me? Farid? Tuati? Yes, of course, you, Farid, Sue, and Liz. Yes, Jean-Jacques. I don't know. Tuati? He is only one we contact. Maybe we must trust him, no? I finished my second bottle, slugging it back, and we both stood up. Not much we can do. Let's go and see what this meeting is about. Musa came closer to me and hugged me. I miss you. Come back after the meeting. We tell others meeting is longer. Let's go. Farid is waiting.